Hello, in this video I want to show you how to create an N8N workflow to do some kind of network monitoring in some particular host. The use cases for N8N, it could be very diverse, very used for AI interaction with LLM, but some of the use cases might be interesting will be how to use locally, perhaps execute a trigger that it could be a schedule or by manual triggering or listing some events, eventually declare some setters in a kind of code node, which we want to declare some more or host, execute some kind of ICMP or ping commands with the CLI feature from N8N, return evaluate the output on the ping commands on that switch and determine if the ping was successful or not. Eventually make a call to some HTTP request to a notify service that eventually is going to tell us if the host was up or down. It's a pretty straightforward process. This is going to be using a virtualized Debian using VirtualBox, Debian 12, and the installation of the Debian machine is going to be minimum. Basically, expert install to avoid and give us the most linear virtual machine that we can actually do the install. This is using about 2.7 gigs out of the typically 8 or 9 gigs that normal Debian install takes. Is using about 439 megs of RAM and is running right now currently Portainer, which is going to be able to help us to manage and see our containers. Here's actually the port container. So without any other further ado, let's go ahead and get started and build this. The first thing is going to be everything's going to be CLI here. We can start. I want to have a recipe to actually get our services. We want to install N8N. We want to use Postgres as a database, as a dependency. I want to use Notify to actually get something copy. So I'm going to go ahead and create a work folder or directory. Let's say Docker. It can be called anything you want, right? Let's create a file, Docker compose .yaml, and basically we just paste the code, which is actually our Docker compose file, to get that instances going. Let's go ahead and get it going. Well, this is actually doing N8N, pulling in the database, Postgres, and Notify. Docker is doing his job. Let's go ahead and get some ports added because we want to need those. We want to need the port 5678 for N8N, and we also want to need the port, in this case 8080 local ports. So let's go ahead and get those added to the virtual machine so we can access from the host, the virtual host, that particular machine. Let's go ahead and go to the network, the port translation, and actually I think I got the wrong VM, my bad. It has to be this one on settings because we need to have SSH, and then we should be able to do we have the 49443 which we showed earlier. What we want to do is actually adding 5678 if I remember correctly, 5678 and 8080 for the case of Notify. So let's go ahead and do it. 127.0.0.1 5678 10.0.2 to 15 5678, and let's go ahead and add the 8080 127.0.0.1 8080 10.0.0.2 to 15 8080. Let me make sure it's 8080 what it was set up for. Yes, it is 8080. Okay, IPs look good, IP looks good, port looks good, IPs, everything. Okay, we should be good here. Let's go ahead and go back to your shell. Everything's started apparently, and Docker PS. We can see that actually something is running. We can confirm that with a Portainer. Yes, it is running. So we got a Postgres, we got N8N, and we got Notify in port 3000. We should be able 8081. Was it 8080 or 81? 8080. Okay, we got 8080 here. and 5, 6, 7, 8, which actually this was for the previous test. It's going to be starting. Okay, good deal. Notify is going to be pretty straightforward. We can create some topics, subscribe some topics. Let's say news. We can generate a name. Actually, I want to subscribe. So I got a topic. I got a curl command on this one that I can do some kind of hi to news. I can execute it directly from here, and we see automatically gets posted as the way notify works. So now right here I can use admin and create some bogus password. That's fine. Need to be uppercase. Fine, we can put an uppercase. We don't care about this. We just get started. Let's just skip this part for now. So okay, here we go. We got N8N running locally. Didn't took anything. Let's go ahead and get start a workflow. For this case, let's start with a workflow manually. It can be triggered on a schedule. It can be an event on different kinds of events. But when we click the workflow, that's what I want to go ahead and execute. Later, let's concatenate a node. In this case, I think it's considered code. In this case, even though it's JavaScript, I like to get or think about this one as the getters and setters. If you're familiar with the programming on Java, Python, some other things, the getters and setters is something. And what I like to do is actually, in this part of the snippet of JavaScript, I want to go ahead and basically declare and return some kind of name, which is going to be, let's say, Google, the IP address of Google. Everybody loves Google. 88888 runs on Linux. And then I want to put a bad IP address, a bogus IP, 1234. And later I want to put a Cloudflare 101.1.1, just for example. And it's going to be, I guess, going to be run once for each item, run once for all items. You have some options. We can execute the code. The step, we can see actually that it runs successfully. So our getters get something going. So it sets three items and gives an output. Now the next step on our process is going to be some kind of command execution. And in this case, the command that I like to go ahead and do is going to be a ping command, which is basically going to take some variables from the JSON IP address that is coming on the execution, and it's going to return from the CLI a concatenation of the name and the IP and the OK if it fails or succeeds. And if I execute it, you can see return some code. I like to execute once, and that will give me some output based on what it run before from the previous step. So that will get me things wired eventually moving forward, and I can go ahead and do a little switch node, and the switch part is going to be able to give me some rules, some values. One of the things that I can use is the standard output, and if the standard output perhaps in the string contains the word OK or colon OK, either or, and I can add another one if the standard output string does not contain the value OK. And I can execute a step for testing, and yes, execute the code. It's fine. Right now, if I execute the code, I'll be able to see that I execute successfully. Some of the things that I notice is like it just execute once. I like to execute 3 times for all the items that I come on the value. So it's going to be 3 pings that they go there, and it's going to return different things. out on the value: 2 successful ping, 1 not successful in the ping. So let's go ahead and get notification posted so we can have a good sensation of what is actually happening. Right now, this setter could actually be coming from the database, could come from a file, it could be coming from different things. I'm just kind of put a little use case example here for this testing. And let me go ahead and add an HTTP request here, which actually that's going to be coming from the curl command. As you can anticipate, is coming from the curl command. Is okay on the news. I want to go ahead and import curl from the notify, and it's going to be notify on port 80 authentication. For the body, I want to get raw, and my body is going to be the standard output that it was okay. That's the message that is going to be. I can execute the step, and I get successful, a notification, and I can see Cloudflare and Google were okay. Now let me go back here. I want to repeat a similar exercise for the HTTP request in the other part of the flow. I want to, as you can anticipate, I can get a curl command of what is the message, and it's going to be similar, but in this case it's going to be the bogus fail command, right? The message is going to be fail, which is going to be in the standard output. It could have been just the same, possibly, but it's give you the options to do some things to test in case you want to add more logic or something on the database, or something like time series database or something like that, extractions. That'll give you more control. There's the fail, so good deal. We had the high, the okay for testing. We know these ones actually they don't have to be here, so eventually we delete them. And right here we have our workflow. We can add some other things to actually add it, to loop it, to end it. I can definitely change this one to ICMP workflow, and I can save it, and eventually I can run the whole thing. 3 items processed, 2 should be successful, 1 not, and everything should be posted on the notify if it works. So I can execute the workflow. It runs the variables, the settings, gets the results, terminates successfully, and as you can see, bogus fails, and Cloudflare and Google are returning okay. That's all, folks. I wanted to show. In the future I want to introduce some other concepts like AI, talking with the LLM, taking some other actions, maybe insert database and get records, but this is something you can run locally, Dockerize, with your own resources. You don't need absolutely nothing but just your machine. And taking a look here, just clearly, let's see, it took about probably a gig of space and 400 megs of RAM. This gives you the almost like the idea of how it's having the ability to have some cron with more plugins and things. To me, the cron works great. Do a lot of automation with cron, but this is kind of the modern way that it's been embracing. End-to-end is pretty cool. I'm glad to see the working taking off, and everything just under 10 minutes. If we exclude the time of excluding installing and everything. Hopefully you enjoy it. Keep playing with it. Feel free to give some thumbs up if you like the videos content like this. We'll continue building some of those, and have a great day.